Good morning, EvoFit. Heather here, and today we're talking about macros. And as you saw in the event page, I said before you listen to this video and try to acquire some information, to go back and watch the video called To Macro or Not to Macro, because there's very basic guidelines of if you're, when I say ready to macro or not to macro, basically we're all at various places in our journey, and we need to appreciate and respect where we are in that journey and not try to jump forward, because jumping forward is not necessarily best. Just like if you're in boot camp and you're new and you see somebody who's been there forever doing a burpee and you think you should be able to do it, there's a progress or there's a system to allow you to progress to that burpee that's going to be healthy and good for your joints and good for your psyche. But we have a tendency as humans to want to jump forward and to do what other people are doing. So yes, there's different levels of how to calculate your macros. If you're an athlete, if you're an everyday woman, if you're somebody who is going to be non-active and maybe can't exercise because you are maybe bedridden or you have issues with your body, or maybe you're sidelined because of surgery, or maybe you're looking to build lean mass. And yes, we are women and we should all be working to build lean mass. No matter what you lift, you'll never, ever bulk. I have been lifting consistently every single week since I was 25 years old. I fell into it at 25 and I just fell in love with it. I mean, I am now up to doing 75-pound dumbbell rows, and I'm up to 105-pound chest press. And I am not bulky by any means. I am not bulky. So when you're in boot camp, I would love to have you challenge yourself and just try lifting a little bit heavier. That's a whole nother video I'll do later, but it is essential that we have lean mass on our bodies, and I'll go into that for just a moment. I want to keep this video within 30 minutes with our Q&A, just so we're not sitting here all day. And we'll do other videos on other topics. However, if you have questions, post, I'll go back through and answer them. When I get to the Q&A portion, I'll just open up the floor, and please, at that time, write your questions so that I don't get distracted in viewing and watching. So wait till the end to ask the questions, and of course, at the end of the video, if you have any questions, if you post below, I will definitely go back and answer those questions. So I've got some notes to keep me on track. So how to structure your macros. Everybody wants to know. And so again, it goes on what you want. What is your goal? So it's not black or white. Like if you want to do your macros, you do this, this, and this, and it's that for everybody. So what is your goal? Is it fat loss? Is it to build lean mass? Is it to, we just talked about maybe your surgery. So your macros will always change based upon where you are in life. But let's, for today's video, just say, because most of us are looking for fat loss, we are in boot camp and we are lifting 3 to 4 days a week, and we are eating whole foods. That is the foundation. And so when you watch the To Macro or Not to Macro, if you're a beginner macro person, don't even listen to this video. Shut it off. Walk away, because what you're going to be focusing on is building healthy mindset around whole foods. Because once you have that foundation, then you can start adding the macros on top. And the macros on top will be, your sticks and pillars of building your house. But you have to first get your head around whole foods. What are they? Can you go to the grocery store and pick out foods and say, that's a carbohydrate, that's a fat, that's a protein? If you can do that, now you're ready to macro. If you're still learning that, congratulations. Keep building on that until that foundation is now like automatic and Then you're ready now to structure your macros. So that's the beginner portion of macros. Don't do it. Focus on your habit changing, getting to whole foods. So that's the beginning part. Let me see. That's the beginning. Oh, intermediate. So I have it structured out by beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So if you're intermediate, what you want for the best macro breakdown for fat loss is fat fuel program. So many of you guys know I am not about giving you a diet. I'm about teaching you how to eat. So 2 ways of eating, and we talked about this in How to Macro and Not to Macro, is I like to say a fat fuel meal plan or a carb fuel plan. You decide which one you're on. There are many ways, which we'll talk about in the advance, that you can cycle through all of those or both of those. But for this intermediate sake, we're going to stick with a fat fuel plan, because what fat fuel plan is going to do, it's going to deplete stored energy, and that's a whole nother video. But if you've gone through our Evo Start program, we've talked about it a little bit. So depleting stored energy means that you're ready to go to fat fuel. Your body has so much stored glycogen in the body that we need to deplete it so that the body's now going to flip over and use fat as fuel. And how you would set up your macros for that would be 35 to 40 proteins would be 35 to 40% of your daily calories. Your carbohydrates will be 20% of your daily calories, and your fat will be 40% of your daily calories. We'll go into how to enter that into MyFitnessPal later. So that's your fat fuel plan. That is the ultimate way of honing in for fat fuel. So if you're an intermediate person, meaning you're just starting to learn how to macro and you want to see what is this all about, I would start with a fat fuel, because that's going to help your body shed the extra fat quicker, but then your body's going to start to slow down. Now you have conquered and set the foundation as a beginner, and you know whole foods because you already went through that, and that takes some focus and that takes some time. Then you calculated out your fat fuel plan, and then you got some feedback from that. Then at some point, it's going to be important for you to enter those carbohydrates back into your plan. But how are we going to do that? That's more at the advanced level, because this is when you are the type of person who will commit to 30 days of change. So you're going to make that 2 millimeter change, and you're going to stick with it for 30 days. That means you're ready for the the advanced level. If you can commit to something for 30 days, you're advanced. And if you can't, that doesn't mean you're not good enough. So stop labeling right now. It's all about where you are in your education. And it's okay. We don't all come out of the womb knowing this shit. So trust the process. And if you're a beginner, to make sure you learn the foundation of whole foods. From whole foods, you go into intermediate, which is now you're going to use the fat fuel plan. You're going to use your 20 active carbs. You're going to use your 35 to 40 proteins, and then your 40 fats. And I'll show you how to do that soon. And then when you enter into your intermediate, now you're going to be taking fat fuel and carb fuel, and you're going to be turning it upside down and around in circles. And that's when you're going to say, I'm going to stick to a particular macro breakdown, your carbs, your fats, and your proteins, for 30 days before I make a change. Because you need feedback. Your body gives you feedback, and it can't give you feedback for an overall lifestyle change in 3 days or 7 days or 14 days, maybe 21, but definitely 30. So for this video, 30 days. If you can commit, you're advanced and you're ready to move forward. So what would your macros look like if you were advanced? So you're going to go into what I like to call carb cycling, and it's not a diet. It's how do I cycle my carbohydrates so that my body burns the most fat. And I always say to people, when you're coming off a great weekend, with girls or family, and you might have consumed too much of the, processed foods and alcohol, and you need to kind of reboot, I will 100% go back to a fat fuel program for day one. And what I would do is when I came back, so I'd say it's Sunday, I come back and I'm like, I feel like crap, I'm bloated, I need to reboot. First thing Monday morning, I'm going to go right into my fat fuel. I'm going to keep my active carbs under 20, I would say definitely 20. And then the next day, I'm going to have one carbohydrate before 3 o'clock. And then the third day, I'm going to go up to like a carbohydrate at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so what you could do with that, because now you're in the advanced level, you have a lot more knowledge. So what you will do is you will go into MyFitnessPal and you'll adjust your macros. And you're going to make it a fat fuel plan for one day. And then the next day, you're going to change it to be, you're going to keep it on fat fuel. And then on the third day, you're going to change it to a carb fuel. So you're going to have to play with the macros. But by the time you're advanced, you probably don't need MyFitnessPal. You'll know, okay, when I'm on a carb up day, when I have 3 carbs a day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I know that if I'm on a low carb day, I need to pull them out. And when I'm on a intermediate day, I'm going to add 1 back in. And then when I'm on my my carb up day, I'm going to add 3 in. So by then you don't really need all that tight structure and need MyFitnessPal and stuff like that. You're just cycling. You know what's normal because you found it in your intermediate level of testing out your macros and knowing, and then you're going into Carb Cycle, which is advanced. But also too, advanced, I do it all the time. I play with it, but I commit to it. So for 30 days, I'll do a fat fuel program. I'll put my macros in so that I am 10 to 15 fat, and then my proteins and my carbs will be the same, which would be about 40, 45. And I'll stay with that for 30 days. I'm gonna get feedback from my body. How did my body respond? My body responds the same for me at this level. I can do fat fuel or carbs and I can get the same awesome results when I'm consistent and when I'm on. And then if I'm going to do if I'm going to use carb fuel program in my macros, I'm going to switch it and I'm going to do fat as 20, and then my proteins and carbs are going to match. So if you're on a fat fuel, your fat and your protein are matching and they're high and your carbs are low. Or if you're on a carb fuel program, your carbs are high, your protein's high, and your fat is low. So remember, macros really are the 3 essential ways or 3 essential nutrients or macronutrients that we need to survive: carbs, fats, and proteins. If you are a beginner, you're just learning that, and that's awesome. And continue to learn, research, find things. What are good carbs? What are bad carbs? I hear that all the time, and I'll do another video on that. But so now we've decided, who are you? Are you a beginner? Are you an intermediate, or are you an advanced? Can you post below? Can you say intermediate, or just give me an I, or A for advanced, or B for beginner? Let's do that right now. I just want to see who we have on the live video right now. Where are we? Are you a beginner? Are you just learning to know what whole foods are? You're learning to go to a grocery store and say, okay, a peanut butter is a fat source, butter is a fat source, quinoa is a carb source. Like, do you have that foundation? Or are you learning it? If you're learning it, you're a beginner. If you know it, then you're an intermediate. And if you've been playing with it already and you've been kind of loosely macro counting, you're an advanced. So I'm just curious, can you post below? Can you tell me where you are currently? And I'm gonna wait. And the fact that I haven't seen anything come across makes me understand that maybe you don't even know if you are a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. So remember, beginner is, I'm learning what whole foods are. And even if you are 90% there and you think you know, do you know? Do you know? And if you do know, then you move into intermediate. If you don't know, you're staying at beginner. And if you've been an intermediate for a while, like I've been macro counting for, oh my God, I don't even remember when. Way a long time ago, when I used to live in Bangor, 15, 12 years ago, I would say I would be advanced. And I'm still not seeing anything come across, so I'm not sure what's going on if you're not responding, or you don't want to respond because you don't want to be made fun of, or what, she thinks she's advanced. Let me decide that. You don't judge. So I'm going to hang out just for a few more minutes here and find out, are you a beginner? Are you an intermediate, or are you advanced? You just type down in the comments. I'm going to walk over to my laptop because I am just going to show you, I don't use these calculators that are out there that you can Google search because I already know what my macros are. So I found a couple that kind of narrowed it down. If you're a game changer, I have it all typed out for you on how to measure all the different things and how to get down to your macros. But for the rest of us, I'm going to just show you a calculator, some websites you can go to where you can put in your numbers that will spew out what your calories should be and what your macros should be. So as I'm waiting for you to type in beginner, intermediate, or advanced to let me know what level you're at, then do that while I'm walking. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to turn the camera around. All right. So, dun, da, da, da. Where are we? Okay. So there are some things that we need to know. Let me get out a little piece of paper so I can, thank you, Sil. I appreciate you posting that you're a beginner, letting me know where you're at, because nobody else is, and I'm not quite sure why. But, okay, piece of paper. So these are the numbers that you're going to need to know. All right. So you will need to know your basal rate. What is that? Basal rate means basically your resting heart rate, or not your resting heart rate, but your calories that you need to just be you. Like if you never got up and walked up and down the steps, but just to breathe, do your daily movement off the couch to the sink, to the bed, those types of things. Like how many calories does your body need just to survive? Then what we need to know is exercise. How much of this are you doing in a day? And most of the time when we see calculators out there on the internet, it will talk about, are you sedentary? Are you lightly sedentary? Are you, those types of things. Even though I'm a trainer and I do work out every single day, because the most of my day I'm sitting. So I'm going to be light activity. And don't try to think about it. Don't think too hard about it. If you spend most of your day being on your butt because you have an office job, you're light. If you're in a warehouse, you're definitely not light because most of your day you're moving around. Let's see, what else are we going to need? We're going to need to know your height. We're going to need to know your weight. Are you male or female? That one should be easy. Height, weight, age, gender. And if you know your body fat percentage, which you should be if you're at EvoFit, because we are really big on body fat. And then your exercise here is your total body energy expenditure. So that's whether it's light, heavy, that's your daily activity. So what I would do is just pull out a piece of paper and just think about these things. Okay, you're not going to know. We're going to need a calculator for that. This you can determine. You do definitely know your height. You know your weight. You know if you're male or female. This is optional. It's not a necessity. So one of the calculators I found that does this all for you. And again, I have it all written out, the calculations on how to get precise, accurate. But for most of us, we don't want to do all that math. So I found this calculator up here. It's called healthyeater.com flexible dieting calculator. So flexible dieting is another term for macro counting. There's so many terms out there. I wish we all could stay consistent, but for marketing purposes, we can't. So on this one came pretty close to the macros that I use. So in here, I put my age, which was 42, my gender, female, my height, and my weight, and I did know my lean mass, so I put that number in. My activity level is sedentary, and then my goal, 10%. I want to lose 10% of my body fat. So the calories are 1753. What I use in my MyFitnessPal right now is like 1,690, and I do that because I know my personality. I know that I can go up to like 1,800, but I put it on the low end, so I like to cheat the numbers. You got to know your personality. I don't like to hit numbers. I like to I'm very defiant, so I will go over just because. So I've adjusted my MyFitnessPal to kind of talk to who I am. And I'm defiant. I don't like to be told what to do. So my calories, my carbohydrates. So when you're in MyFitnessPal, you would set them to be this. Your carbohydrates would be 43. Your protein will be 31.6 and your fat would be 25. So when you're in MyFitnessPal, you can't do points, 0.4, 0.6, 0.0. You have to have a whole number. So you're just going to get as close to it as possible. And that was just one of the calculators. There's another calculator that I did. I'll post it. It was on bodybuilding.com. It's very similar. I had it was slightly different than this, but not by much, by like 1 point something. But the idea is if you're at this point, you are now in advanced or intermediate. So you know this is not holy grail. This means you have to commit to at least 30 days with this macro breakdown to see how your body is responding before you make that 2 millimeter change and maybe shift your carbohydrates up or down, or protein up or down, or fat up or down. So then the next step would be to log into MyFitnessPal. Dun, da, da, da. Oops, I have a client logged in there right now, so we'll take her out. And I'm gonna log in. Awesome. Let's try it again. Perfect. Okay, so depending on whether you use your phone to set these macros up or a PC, it's going to be slightly different. So right now in this video, I'm going to show on a PC only. So if you're a phone user, find a PC to do it. So here you go. So you're going to go to goals. You're going to come down here and you're going to see daily nutrition goals. Here are my numbers. You're going to click on edit. You're going to type in the calories that you had over, where am I? Dun, 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 dun. It was right here. Okay, so you're going to type in this number here under calories, right there. Put that number in there. Then you're going to go here, carbohydrates, 43.4. Go over here, carbohydrates, put in 43, or you can round it up to 44. Then you're going to go to protein, you're going to put in 31%, and then fat 25. So you're going to put 31 in here and fat 25. Once you, of course, all these numbers should equal 100, then you're going to hit save. And because I'll just make a little tweak here so I can actually save. I don't know, it's not allowing me to save, but anyway, it will allow you to save, I promise. So you'll hit save, and so now this will match what you have here, or close to. Don't worry, 1% here or there is not going to make or break you. So that's how you update your macros in MyFitnessPal. How is that? Pretty user-friendly, pretty easy? Do you have questions?